He said you got.
All right, we are live. We are live. We are live. Thank you, everybody. We had some technical difficulties, but we are here. So my apologies on our tardiness. I saw people texting me. I thought the podcast was supposed to start. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody who's been waiting patiently. For the first time, we are on LinkedIn today. And I saw some of our old classmates liking the stream. So we got some Valpo people who might be listening in. So I appreciate that. But if you don't know, this is a Small Business Saturday podcast. My name is Attorney Justin Camper. This is number one podcast where we talk about legal tips for small business owners. So if you are a small business owner, you need to be listening to this podcast because we're going to be dropping legal gems to help you protect and grow your business. As I said, my name is Attorney Justin Camper, and we have Attorney Jacobie Whitley, all the way from DC in the building. You want to say what's up to the people, Jacobie Whitley?
Nope, I'd rather not. I'd rather reserve all my time for Deuce.
Okay. All right. And we got Attorney Shanon Buari and Lil Buari on the line. You want to say what's up to the people?
How's everybody doing?
Okay.
He made the album.
Yeah, so we these are excellent business attorneys. We got Shanon, who also practices in Indiana, like myself. And we have Jacobie Whitley, who practices in DC, and just recently got inducted to the federal bar. So now he's doing federal cases. Congratulations to you, Attorney Whitley.
Thank you. I got good friends. God is real.
Is there any particular federal cases that you're interested in, that you want to get in, or you're doing all federal?
I will say that hopefully it doesn't result in it, but I am looking forward to a trade secret claim. And that is an ode to non-disclosure agreements, because if the parties had a non-disclosure agreement in place, that may have prevented this disclosure of trade secrets, or we, potentially had a more direct claim or a better claim for breach. But that would be something federal that might be coming up. But again, I hope they settle and figure it out without going through those such extremes.
Yeah, you gotta break it down to the audience so everybody don't know what trade secrets are. Can you simplify it real quick for the audience? What are trade secrets and why?
All right, I'll do my best. So basically, proprietary information of the business that's pertinent, fundamental to the business, right? So it might not be a patent, but it might be something that is very unique to the business and it's part of the business's process. And again, it might not be patented, but it's again integral in that process. And maybe it might be, here's a good example, pricing, right? So your pricing schedule, that's something that every business has is pricing, right? So when you're dealing with vendors, sometimes in the bidding process or whatnot, you don't want, you don't want your pricing to be shared so people can leverage it against you. So that would be a good example of a trade secret outside of a process of that business. I hope I did a good job. Shannon's normally better with definition.
So one that I think kind of resonates with everyone is KFC's 11 herbs and spices recipe. It is an integral piece of the business, and yet they go above and beyond to protect what that recipe is. So much so, in fact, that they have different departments for different ingredients that make the recipe. And so if you're on salt and you're on lemon pepper or garlic, whatever goes in it, that's all you do, right? You never see the pepper folk. You never see the onion powder folk. Like, so you literally are on salt or pepper, But as Coach said, it's something that it might not be. You might not be able to provide protection, but for the again, I'm gonna say secrecy for lack of a better term. Right? So you really can't. I'm not gonna say patent a recipe. Right? You might not be able to trademark a recipe, but you can say, you know what? Since it is a secret, we're gonna go above and beyond to keep this secret, and like Cope alluded to, and make sure we maintain its integrity. So I think the 11 herbs and spices is one of the most that is one of the ones that kind of resonate most with the people. I guess just bring your child to work day, huh?
Yeah, man. We got a special appearance. A more camper in the building. Yeah. So, my apologies. It's a free for all podcast today. But yeah. So, no, absolutely. KFC's is a really good example of a trade secret. I wanted to talk about we got a big case that we want to talk about, but I wanted to talk about just in general business legal tips for the year. And so I wanted to know what you guys' thoughts on just as we are starting this new year. What are some good business legal tips?
One is to always review your contracts, review your policies, and review your bylaws. To make sure that there's no need for any updates. Also check to see if you need to file a business registration. If you have to renew a license or something like that, this would be a good time to just walk around the business and make sure that all your compliance is in place going into the new season. Of course, getting everything together for tax filings and things like that. But I think this is a good time to review your documents and do a compliance check.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people miss out on the importance of reviewing documents. And I have a video coming out on my YouTube channel where I explain this, but it's like what I advise is all the complaints that you got from last year. Make sure you have it documented and you talk with your lawyer and you revise your contracts based off of all the complaints that you had last year. And then we can create policies and procedures and special training based off those complaints.
I think that's a good point because some people think their contracts are static.
Right.
And they think that when they form it in 2005, but no, I think that's brilliant. Any customer complaints, use that as the guideline. I think that's good advice and kind of just alludes to if you just operating off the same contract from 2005.
Right. And laws change too as well. So
yeah, for sure.
It's important for your specific industry that you are making sure that you are in compliance with the laws that are going on within the year. And so us lawyers, we gotta do our background research. We don't, secret. We don't know everything, right? But we can find out the correct information. And so that's why it's important for us to know what your needs are, right? And if you are in the cooking industry, or if you are, baking, if you're, if you are doing taxes or whatever it is, you need to let us know, hey, Attorney Camper, Attorney Whitley, it's the new year. I just want to make sure that I'm up to date with legal compliance. Please reach out. Please help me out. And then, we'll do our back end. We'll do our research. We'll make sure that, you are up to date with today's laws for your specific industry. And I like to say that, contracts are living documents.
I was thinking that how this conversation is like,
right.
The Constitution is said to be a living document.
Right.
Changes. And I was going to say, the parallels with the business.
Right.
Contracts on the bylaws or like the Constitution. So go ahead, bro. But
right. No, No, you're right. No, your contract is your living document, right? You're supposed to always constantly be updating it to make sure that you are protected. The best contracts, these are the best contracts. The best contracts that protects business owners the best is when they tell me, oh yeah, I put that in the contract because I had a complaint last year about that, or that reminded me of a situation that I had last year. No business owner can predict every possible scenario that can happen within your business. Okay, it's just a fact. Now we're good because we read cases for a living, so we can say, "Oh, I read a case like that. Let me put this in there." Or we have experience. We litigate, so we have experience with other businesses. Of like, "Oh yeah, let me put this in your contract because I had experience with it." But even still, we're not going to be able to predict every single thing, right? And so it's important that you are documenting your complaints, what's happening in your business, and we're talking about it, and we can include that in your contract. Those are the steel toe contracts.
Yeah. There was something in there, man, that I wanted to piggyback off of that, because you're hitting some good topics, man. Because so this is what I'm finding out, and this is why I think this is very important.
Right.
Is I think the entrepreneurials, and I know this from my background in entrepreneurship, right?
Right.
That spirit, the entrepreneurial spirit, most of the times have people jump out, and a lot of people don't consult an attorney first.
Right.
A lot of people are in business a year, 3 years, and it's like, oh, something happened. Let me get an attorney now.
Right.
Right. It might not have knowing the best practices.
Right.
Prior to getting an attorney,
right?
Because they just didn't know, they just didn't have that experience, right? So
right.
I think this conversation is very good because, again, I believe wholeheartedly that there are people out there that are business owners that don't have legal representation,
right?
Even though they know they should. I hope through the podcast understanding that,
right?
But yeah, so they might not be thinking about these things. They might not be thinking about updating their contracts. They might not be thinking about, oh, let me renew my business license or make sure that that's there, or whatever professional license I have to renew. So yeah, I just think it's good to keep that in mind, because I think a lot of people go into business, unfortunately, without legal representation. Then they find themselves needing legal representation later. So yeah, so if you find yourself in that situation, guys, get out those notebooks.
and what Shannon's Attorney Buari's favorite line is, "I'm much cheaper on the front end than the back
end." Much more cheaper on the front end than I am. You beat me to it, Jessica, because as soon as Kobe was done, I was going to say, much cheaper on the front end than I am the back end, and most attorneys are.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And it's not that we don't want to make money. That's not the case. But good attorneys, as we are, our goal is to get to the solution as quick as possible, right? Not to drag your bill out because we want to, we just trying to make a quick dollar. We're trying to get you to the solution, right? And if we can get you to the solution at a faster, cheaper rate, we rather you do that and then you hire us for something else than to be dragging out a long, drawn out problem. And so we want our clients to do the right thing in the beginning, right? We want to be able to go to court if we have to go to court as confidently as possible with as much evidence as we have as possible in order to help you win your particular court case, right? Another business tip that I want to talk to small business owners about is your registered agent. Okay, that is one of the most slept on services that attorneys offer for you, right? And I have a case where a client, they had themselves as a registered agent, and what ended up happening was they got sued. I believe it was a frivolous lawsuit, but they got sued. The attorney sent in paperwork to the registered agent, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're trying to sue someone. We have to contact the registered agent. The attorney sent paperwork to the registered agent. No response, because my client had moved to a different state, a whole other state, and would still, but on the documentation, she was still technically her registered agent. Okay. And the attorney, sent in all this paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And it ended up being a default judgment of $10,000 against her because nobody responded. So then my client found out on the back end of what happened. Hey, Justin, I got this $10,000 judgment. What can I do? So now I gotta try to get the default judgment vacated. And you would think, it's just an easy process. Oh, just tell the judge. Oh yeah, I didn't know about it. Oh yeah, no problem. No, it was I had to argue back and forth with the opposing counsel that my client was not served properly. Now, good thing about Indiana is that it requires signatures. And so my client didn't have there was no signature. So that was our winning argument. We actually was able to win that. Just found that out this morning. The judge ruled in our favor, so the default judgment was vacated. But it wasn't easy, right? And I had to prepare my client like, hey, we may have to appeal the judge's decision if the judge goes the wrong way. Unfortunately, that's more money for you, but at the end of the day, you don't want to have to pay $10,000 for a frivolous lawsuit, right? And so I think one of the slept-on services that business owners offer is that registered agent services. What do you guys thought about on this?
I agree. Most states service upon a company can be rendered through the registered agent. That is the way you serve a company typically. And if you don't know the duties of a registered agent and you don't know how to respond to legal documents or pleadings, then it will behoove you to have at least a knowledgeable registered agent, if not an attorney as your registered agent. I agree.
Right.
And just to piggyback off that, I think sometimes it's just important to have that conversation with the business owner. So I say for 75 to 80% of the business I set up, they say, Shanon, you're the registered agent, right? Because the likelihood of me moving, me changing, turnover is slimmer than it would be if I'm, the director of HR, right? I mean, so
Right.
I usually say, look, and here in Indy, when you form a business, it actually asks if you want the registered agent to receive service or process, right? So then you can say yes or no. So then you can say no, and then you got to try to serve the company. And what I usually do is just put the address, courtesy of highest ranking official. Like Justin said, send it certified mail. I have the sheriff deliver it. But in the event they do choose to let, the attorney or somebody who actually sets up the business be the registered agent, I think it's worth having a conversation with the client to explain to them what the duties of the registered agent, the duties of the registered agent. Here's what their task, but most importantly, if you're sued, that's who would. There's a presumption there that if this person served, the company served. So is this person responsible? Are they going to get you correspondence? Because I've had cases where, like, the registered agent was served and sat on summons, right? So then you get a default judgment, and it's like, hey, I didn't get served, and it's like, well, somebody signed for this 30 days ago, right? So who is this person? And then now they have to go back, and that's a little harder to get something like that set aside. And if I can say, look, I never, right? I think that's basic Civ Pro. You have to be served. You have to receive notice, to be able to exercise your right. Right. I mean, so Rule 4, at least here in Indiana, if you can't meet the requirements under Rule 4, I can easily get you out of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody who you list as your registered agent signs and signifies or attests to the fact that they received the document,
Right.
they sat on it and didn't provide it to the CEO, general counsel,
Right.
whatever the case may be, that's a whole different story. So I think it's important to, one, when you're explaining to business owners, one, just go into detail as to the duties, rights, responsibilities, etc., of the registered agent, and then have a conversation with the registered agent, him or herself, to say, look, you understand that as soon as you get something that's important, get it in the hands of the right or the correct individuals.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, make sure you have someone who is responsible over as your registered agent for your business. Make sure you understand how service can be done within your particular state. I think that is so important for business owners. So I'm going to use Attorney Buari. Uh, what would you say is some legal tips, or at least one legal tip for sure that business owners should be doing at the beginning of the year?
I think Cole hit on it. Uh, I think he touched on it. But I mean, usually for me, my advice to business owners is take a. I like to start with the 30,000 foot view. Take a 30,000 foot view, call it a snapshot, and then it's okay. Let's be proactive this year, right? So what does that look like? If it means updating policies and procedures, if it means updating HR manuals, right? If it means, like Kobe said, internally updating corporate documents, or your shareholder documents, if you have them, are they up to date? Uh, are there T's that you need to cross and I's you need to dot? So for me, it really is just, let's kind of stop. Okay, it's the beginning of the year, we start fresh. Is there changes we need to make to some of these documents? If so, let's make them now. Are there changes we need to make to, call it, policies and procedures? Let's do so. Again, going back to that registered agent conversation, are these people still members or shareholders, whatever the case may be, within the company? If the answer is yes, we're fine. If no, let's file the necessary amendments with the Secretary of State. Like Code said, let's review some of these contracts, right? Let's revisit some of these relationships. Last year we had, call it, situations where you felt X wasn't meeting or Y company was not meeting their end of the bargain. Do we still want to go into business? Do we still want to deal with this? That type of thing. So those are the conversations I usually have with my business owners. And then on the other side is, you know, sit with your financial advisor and your accountant. Do you have what are your, and this is kind of outside the realm of the legal counsel, but what are your projections, right? What are we looking to do this year? Is there going to be, are dividends going to be paid out? Or is there going to be taxes that we're going to have to worry about? Are we going to have to do some planning? And I know that might be jumping the gun a bit, but we're going to have to do some tax planning, right? Are you going to be bringing in a little bit more this year than you did last year, et cetera, et cetera? So conversations like that are usually the combos that I have with business owners this time of year. And again, it's more cost effective and cost efficient to be proactive about it than to be reactive about
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, these are just some really good general business legal tips. I advise all small business owners to set up a consultation call. Um, Again, it's it's a lot cheaper to get on top of things now than to try to pay for a conversation later, because there's gonna be a whole lot of conversations that you got to pay for. Go ahead, Attorney Whitley.
Yeah, that's I recall now, Justin. It was new laws,
Mhm.
right? So when you were bringing that up, I think that's key, right? Because you hear in November that this referendum or this passed, right? But it won't come in effect until January, and normally in Virginia, like July,
Mhm.
right? So if it is something like Virginia, where it's actually going to be effective in July,
Right.
even some things that are going down in DC,
Right.
that might be come into effect later in the year, this would be the best time to start. What Shannon said, get into those strategy meetings and make sure legals in those strategy meetings
Mhm.
to be able to explain how the new laws affect that new target of the business,
Mhm.
right? And maybe those laws require you to, let's say it's an environmental law, right? And now you have to change not procedures, policies, but actually how your business conducts a certain area
Mhm.
of business that's
Mhm.
vital to its business, right? If you're not, if let's say that goes in effect in July, you can't expect your business to be compliant July 1 if you're not already planning and implementing that at least in January. So I think this is a vital time to really sit down with legal and say, hey, attorney that I have on retainer, hey, can you give me a quick view or research to see if there's any new laws, any new ordinances that have come down the pipe that affect my business, even if they're not in effect now, but come into effect later this year, so we can start planning that out now. I think that's key too.
Right. Yes, very important point. How laws work. A lot of them, especially, I'm assuming it's the same way in DC, Indiana, July is usually that date, that month where that's when the laws change. You would think it would be January, but it's usually like that. July is when, okay, as of starting in July of 20 whatever year, the new year, that's when this new law is going to change. So that's a really important point. Sometimes you got to prepare for when the law is about to change, not just knowing when the law changed. I think that's extremely key. But I think again, first of all, whoever's listening, you're a small business owner, make sure you put your information in the comments below. If you have any general business legal questions that you want us to answer, please put that in the comments below. I think that it's important for small business owners to set up a consultation call. Set up a consultation call with an attorney. Just have a discussion. Just say, hey, I'm just here because I don't want to get sued or I don't want to put my business at risk.
I'm just trying not to get fined.
Right. I love those discussions, because I get so many calls where people are like, I got this crazy issue. I need you to solve it today. I get so many of those when someone says, hey, I'm just here just because. I'm like, whew, okay. I take a deep breath. I'm like, all right, I can relax. All right. I'm like waiting for the ball to drop sometimes when I'm talking to people. There's a few more things that came to my mind, and we're going to talk about Adidas losing their lawsuit, their trademark lawsuit soon. But a few more things that came to my mind with some cases I'm dealing with that I think it could be helpful. So, predatory lending is out. It's out right now, and small business owners need to be on watch. Okay. We are in a recession, or a recession is coming, depending on which political party you are. I guess you define what a recession is, but they say we're in a recession season, whatever. And a lot of us small business owners, we are trying to do the best that we can to keep income flowing, right? When money is low, okay? And everybody can relate to that, being a small business owner. But what I'm seeing also is there are predatory lending, okay? I actually had a situation where this company, this business owner, she owed money to a company, and another credit company said, "Hey, we're going to give it was like some 6-figure amount in a loan. We're going to give you this. You've been approved. We're going to give you this 6-figure amount in your loan, and as long as you signed up within whatever, okay." So she hurried, but then they told her the only caveat is she has to pay off her other loan in order to get this 6-figure loan. Okay. So she borrowed, she did everything she could to pay off this one loan. Once she paid it off, comes to find out it was a shell company, it was a fraudulent company, it wasn't a real company. And now she's sitting in my office thinking, well, maybe we believe it was the other company pretending to be a loan company. It was just this whole fraudulent scheme. But one thing I noticed that is happening to a lot of small business owners is just predatory lending. I know we all are trying to, get funding, keep our business going, but it's important to talk with your lawyer. If you can afford it, just talk with the lawyer before you get into these big loan contracts. make sure you know the company, make sure it's a legitimate company, and make sure that you understand, what you're getting into, because in the situation evolved even from that, where this predatory lending that's been happening with the same another situation where they're contacting the lender is contacting my client's customers, right? And now my client's losing business because of this situation. It all started from, hey, I'm in the pandemic, things are, business running slow. I need some money. I need some quick cash. I need to keep my business running. I need to pay for things. And all of a sudden they get ramped into, these predatory lenders. And I think, small business owners need to take their time before they get into these lending situations and pay for a lawyer to have it look into it for you to evaluate the situation. We got a comment, and then I'll let you guys respond to that. Ethan Legg said proactive legal advice is much easier than reactive. Also, hey everyone, just popping in to show support and maybe lend a thing or two. Yeah, we got Attorney Legg on the line. Attorney Legg, so we thank you for our wish listening in. Definitely please put in your tips and things like that you think that would be helpful to business owners. But yeah, I mean,
what's up, sorry, bro. What up, my guy? What's up, my guy? Yes. Peace. Congratulations on everything, my guy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Attorney Legg.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you guys? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you got to be very careful with funding. Funding is a very crucial piece of the business, and again, that's why you should work with your attorney. Right. To be able to vet different. If you're going to go into a situation, you're looking for a lender, to have that attorney vet that lender, right? Look at the lending contract and things like that. So again, that's why I think it's another good point on why you should have an attorney. But yes, businesses have to be very, very leery of predatory lending and to not be desperate. Looking for those funds to elevate or expand the business. You have to be leery. It's out there, and you have to protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Attorney Buari, you have something?
I would just say, I think as the name indicates, right? Whenever I think of predator, I think of something that just preys on weak, smaller, however you want to define it. But I think what folk must understand is small businesses at some point may hurt for money. So just be cautious when it comes to whether or not folk are truly lending you money in your best interest, or if again, it's, I'll give you the 60 grand you're looking for, but it's at 30%, right? That's why I always, when I startups, your mom and pops, and your smaller businesses, I always say, look, if you need cash, it might not be the best option in the beginning, but go to a local bank, credit union, something like that, right? A phantom phone call about somebody wishing to give you 100 grand, it probably sounds better than, it's too good to be true. Right. And I understand, there might be financial hardships that you experience as a small business lender, but there's companies that work directly with small businesses that are reputable, right? If you can't go to a bank, look up Bankable. There's some of these other online reputable companies, right? Just don't yield or, answer the phone, a cold call. Hey, Shanon Buari from islandtobusinesses.com and think this is going to be, legit. So that's just my advice that I give to some of my younger or more, call it infant businesses.
Absolutely.
And I would just circle back to say, those that are participating in the real estate industry, real estate investors, whether you're wholesaling, developing, there's a lot of private lending, right? And there's a lot of private loans in that world. So definitely vet people. Definitely, as Shannon said, be weary of that random flyer that appears in the mail saying, look, we'll lend you money for your deal. But I do know in my experience that is a sector where non-institutional lending is plentiful. And I just want people to be very leery, especially when dealing with the private lender, to have them vetted.
Yeah. Okay. Two more things, and then we can talk about Adidas. I want to know, and I haven't, for the viewers, I haven't asked them this question beforehand. Okay, so I want you guys. We all say the same thing, or if two of us say the same thing. I want you to, that this is not, not planned out. What is the number one legal issue that small business owners have that typically tanks the business? I want both of you guys to answer, and I want to see if there's any. You guys think what I'm thinking.
Are you saying that tanks the business?
Yes, tanks the business, divides the business, puts them in lawsuits. Number one legal issue that I keep getting this on my desk, and I want to make sure I tell people at the beginning of the year to help avoid it. But I want you guys to think. What are your thoughts on it?
All right. I think I know what you're saying, but I have a personal experience.
Okay.
That just like
right.
Yeah, but this is also a thing that I think a lot of business owners come in contact with, find themselves in this situation.
Right.
The 50-50 partnership. Don't ever do a 50-50 partnership.
Right.
There is no tiebreaker.
Right.
Y'all married. It's gonna get ugly. Never, ever go 50-50 with somebody with a business. Ever.
Listen.
Again, have the audacity to label it a partnership. But here's the legal game that I'm about to give you.
Okay.
You don't have to have any type of paperwork to form a partnership. All y'all have to do is be in cahoots, agree to share in the profits and losses. And now y'all 50-50 partners. And now y'all done form the entity that you never want to come encounter with as a business person. And that's a 50-50 partnership. If it's 3 of y'all did 33 and a third. If it's 4 of y'all did 25%. Don't do it. You need some type of tiebreaker. You need some type of a final authority in the business. I don't know what you're going to say, but I'm very passionate about that point, as you guys can tell. Yes, that would be my pick.
Okay. Attorney Buari.
Me, it's the improper entity formation.
Okay.
And then I think, and Justin, I think I know where you're going to. I think you're going to that protection, right? That trademark, trade secrets. I think that's the path you're going down.
No, not yet. Not yet. Okay.
So no, but for me, it's just folk having the wrong entity formation. I can't tell you how many times people have been in business for 10, 15, 20 years and they're sole proprietors, right? And then you explain to them what that means.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why we're here now. I didn't know that they can come get if you set up the proper entity, right? If we had some sort of protection at the company or corporate level, then we wouldn't be talking about how come your personal assets are subject to judgment.
Right.
But because we did not form the proper entity, now we have to talk about why your personal assets are subject to judgment. And then on the other side, I've run into situations where people set up, call it as a corporation, and they failed to perform as a corporation, right? So they weren't paying taxes at the corporate level. There were no shareholder dividends or anything like that. So now you have, these companies subject to these audits. And now they're like, well, wait a minute. It's just me and, my 2 sons. Why are we? Well, whoever set this company up, set it up as a corporation. Here's what that means. First of all, double taxation. What does that mean?
Right.
It means the company is paying tax at the corporate level. And then once it kicks dividends or call it money to the shareholders, they then pay taxes. So the whole time we've been getting our, call it, tax returns. So for me, it's most certainly folk not knowing proper entity formation.
Okay.
And then, just trying to figure out how to. And it, here in India, it's a simple checking the box. IRS, there's forms you just check the box on. But when folk get into real deep issues, like again, I have a client that if what comes down the pipe as far as judgment goes could come down the pipe. I mean, you're talking about personal assets being disrupted. And then for somebody who's worked to reach a certain level, it's almost heartbreaking, right? Heart wrenching to know that if I can't fork over, if I don't have the liquidity to meet or to pay a judgment pursuant to a court order, then you could potentially leave, right, my house, seize personal assets. So that's where the conversation gets a bit sticky. I mean, people have cried in the office, but it's like, hey, whoever helped you set this up should have let you know prior to. And then again, 70% of the time is, oh, I just did it myself. I always say, let's keep on the front end. Then I am
right.
Yeah, right. So
Right.
that's for me, it's entity formation, Justin.
Okay. All right. So mine was business partnerships. I I wish I mean, granted, entity formation, that's you need to get that correct. And that's so important. That's the foundation. And I'm gonna wrap up with we're gonna talk about how that fits into the big picture, and then we can talk about the Adidas deal. But having the right structure is literally foundation. You cannot grow without the foundation. So absolutely. But what keeps coming on my desk is two business partners fighting. That is literally that pays for something in my office. There's two business owners fighting over the business. The mistakes that I see people make. Oh, this is my brother. I didn't think I was going to fight with my brother. That's why I didn't come up with an operating agreement. Oh, this is my spouse. I didn't think I was going to have an issue with my spouse, with my girlfriend, or with my boyfriend. Okay. Wrong. wrong. At first, if someone was like, hey, I'm doing a business with my spouse, or my husband, my wife, I was like, okay, cool, no problem. I wouldn't, press them on, certain details when it comes to their operating agreement. But I'm telling you guys, I've seen so many times. I mean, literally 2 or 3 times a month, I'm getting two business owners fighting. I'm representing one of the business owners, it's another business owner fighting. 50-50 partnership, like Jacobie said, and they're fighting. Okay. Now we gotta go to court. Now it's worse when there's a relationship. Because now they're fighting over everything. They fight over the sign. They're fighting over pencils. They fighting over. I feel like I've turned to a divorce attorney at certain points. So the way to avoid that, business owners, okay, is that make sure you have a operating agreement. Make sure you have an operating agreement. We got a special guest coming out. No problem. Make sure you have an operating agreement for your business. Double check your operating agreement. Make sure that it's in writing. I even advise people, I'm not sure what you guys advise. I even advise people before you even set up the LLC. Okay? If it's partners, before we get that level, before you start selling anything, let's get this operating agreement on the place. Let's talk about the details. Let's talk about what happens if you guys disagree. Let's talk about, and we're going to talk about this in another podcast, what happens if someone passes away, right? These are realities that we have to think through. You need to plan ahead of time for this. So if you are a small business owner, you do not have an operating agreement, you talk to a lawyer, get an operating agreement right away. If you create one yourself or if you have one, make sure that operating agreement is updated this year, okay? So every small business owner, I'm challenging you guys, make sure you update your operating agreement. If it's just you in the business, you own the business 100%, I get it. It may not be a big deal for you, But if you have partners or investors, please make sure that you update your operating agreement as soon as possible. I know you guys, I feel like you guys have something to say. Did you guys have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that, I mean, for me, that kind of ties into that entity formation.
Right.
Whether you're talking corporate bylaws or you're talking an actual operating agreement, if we're talking LLC partnership.
Right.
But I think it is more so important in those. It's important regardless, right?
Mhm.
But I always tell people, one, your operating agreement is the owner's manual for the business. If
Yeah.
there's ever a time you don't know what to do, when to do, how to do, why to do, where to do, go back to that document, and it should explain to you in detail how we dissolve, when we dissolve, what winding up looks like, what happens if somebody passes, right? How to bring in more members,
Right.
what voting looks like, where the annual meeting is. I mean, it should express all of that. But I always, always, always push it when people go into business with people that they know.
Right.
Because, excuse me, what I've learned in my limited time in practice is those are the ones that go sour first. And I don't know if it's because of the dynamic, but your spouse might not always make the best business partner, right? Your brother, sister, mother, father, whatever the case may be, may not make the best business partner. And I think what people tend to do is they say, based on this relationship, the business relationship has to work. It must work, right? This is my brother. There's no way I can go into business with
Right.
my own brother, my
Right.
own spouse, and this goes south. And what people find out is that's usually when it goes south the quickest. And it's just true.
Right.
And I think at that point, like to your point, Justin, that's when it's most important for me to be able to say, pull out the documents. Let's look at capital contributions. Let's look at interest in the company. Again, let's look at how liabilities, profit, all of that is going to be treated. And when you get we don't have any of that, that's like you said, when it feels more like a divorce than it does, business litigation. But I push them a point. Anytime a person comes in and wants to form a business, I say, look, these are the three things you're going to need right away: your articles of incorporation or organization, your EIN, which is the call it social security number for your business, and either your corporate bylaws or your operating.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, thanks for that, Attorney Buari. Attorney Whitley, did you have any thoughts you wanted to add to that?
So yes, I would like to add something to the sauce. Yes, I would. Actually, and that would be that this mindset and these issues mirror estate plan.
Right.
Right. And the partnership equivalent in estate planning is intestate succession. Not having any type of will, not having any type of estate plan, and just assume because they're my kids, because it's my family, they will, everything will go smooth, or it will even get to them. Right. Or the amount or the size of the estate that you think will get to them just magically because they are your heirs. Just often doesn't play out that way. So I just wanted to throw out that I know you're going to talk about business succession at a different podcast, but that's why, to me, all these areas of law are kind of, I don't know why I don't teach them together like that. Anyway, I think they all kind of go together. So I just would like to, make people think in the same way as you think about these entities, and you need to protect your entities. You need to be protecting your estate as well, right? Because I'm quite sure you got into business to attain things, assets, wealth, whatever your goals are. And so you also want to think about how those things transition once you leave this planet as well. So, yeah, make sure you have intestate documents as well. Estate planning documents as well as your business documents.
Yes. And shout out to Attorney Whitley, coming out with an ebook soon, right? On
Hey, don't you talk to me like that.
coming out with a book soon on business succession or just estate planning in general. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, something light, but it's gonna have like some templates. It's gonna go a lot deeper as far as actual usable content than most ebooks do. However, the content will still be light, but I think it will give people an overall sense of how they should start thinking about estate planning. But that's later down the road, guys.
Okay, gotcha. So you guys, you've heard it here. First release is coming out. So let's talk about. I've been holding off on this subject. And I think there was one more thing I want to discuss, but let's just go ahead and talk about Adidas. So recently, I believe this came out maybe yesterday or sometime this week. Adidas actually lost a trademark lawsuit against Tom Brown. I'm probably saying his name wrong, Brownie. I'm not sure saying his name right, but against a famous American fashion designer. Adidas in 2021 sued Tom Brown for over 7.8 million in claims, and said that it intimidated Adidas' signature 3-stripe logo. Okay. Tom Brown has a 4-bar signature stripe design. And that's on all his clothing, this 4-bar stripe design. The lawyer argued that for Tom Brown, said that, hey, Adidas can't say they own stripes. That is a common used thing. And this started back in 2005 when Tom Brown came out with selling the 3-stripe design, known as a 3-bar signature. Adidas said, hey, you got to stop doing that. You guys are too similar to my design. And then Tom Brown came out with the 4-bar signature design to, basically not to be too much like Adidas. Okay. And then Tom Brown filed a trademark for the 4-bar signature design. And Adidas still was pissed off, said that it's still going to likely cause customer confusion and deceive the public, and that they've been using the 3-stripe design since 1949. And so they sued them for trademark infringement. Well, a jury found that they were wrong, and that the trademark design was distinguishable enough from Adidas, and Adidas, they lost. Adidas said they plan on possibly appealing, and that they were going to continue to prosecute their brand, prosecute to protect their brand. And I want to show the public, whoever's watching my video, the two designs, and I want you guys. I'm gonna share my screen here. And I want you guys to let me know, what do you think? Let me see here. I'm getting that ready. Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, while I'm getting that ready, what are you guys' general thoughts on the situation?
So I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. And I think there's some more trademark cases coming up with the Supreme Court. I don't know if they've finished that. Supreme Court was going to rule on a case involving Andy Warhol and Prince. I'm trying to track that. I don't know if that came out yet. But anyway, so there's a lot of good stuff with trademark, and business owners need to pay attention. So I think the case highlights some good things, but I was able to get a motion. The judges, not a motion, but a judge's order on like the motions for summary judgment, stuff like that. And in the background, I think it highlights something. And I want to start this off with this piece, okay? So it says that the 3-stripe mark, all right, so let's break that down. All right, Justin got the picture. Let's get into it. Let's get into these corners of this bag, y'all. All right, so the 3-stripe mark, all right, so let's break that down. The court says the 3-stripe mark So that means this three stripe, as you know, in the trademark industry, your trademark is referred to as the mark. So the court is referring to the specific trademark of the three stripes. So the three stripe mark is one of Adidas's most valuable assets off the break, right? So this is the court explaining. So this is why we're trying to explain to small business owners why your intellectual property is so valuable, right? Even the court says this mark is Adidas's most valuable assets, one of their most valuable assets. But why? Okay, it comes right on the heels. Adidas invests hundreds of millions of dollars per year into advertising, promoting their products that bear the mark as well as the mark itself, right? So them owning the legal rights to the mark allows them to put it into their marketing, and that marketing entails gets sales for the actual brands that also products that bear the mark, right? So because the products bear the mark that has the products that has those marks are valuable, but then the mark can be used to advertise, which moves the goods out the door and gets the sales. So that's why it's so valuable. And that's why when you have your intellectual property, if someone was supposed to buy your business, there's a value quotient for that mark, for that intellectual property, because that new owner can say, I know I can promote this business in the business space and get these sales with no issues. And if I see another likeness, I can then protect my rights and go after them. If that business doesn't have that and that new owner isn't purchasing that with the business, it makes logical sense that that business would be valued less if they do not own their marks. So I just wanted you guys to see that, yes, trademarks become extremely valuable assets of the business. And I just wanted to highlight that. I can go some more stuff if y'all not ready. I just wanted.
No, I mean keep flowing. I mean, I got the pictures up for whoever was listening or watching this on video. What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think it's similar? Do you think Adidas was right? Do you think the jury ruled this correctly?
All right, so here's the catch with that. All right, so we don't know, right? Because it's one of the things. Tom Brown didn't lose the case, and Adidas didn't win it. The lawyers technically won on the technicality.
Okay.
Right? In the court, it wasn't really decided how similar the marks are and confusing to the market, right?
Okay.
I believe Tom Brown's attorneys won on a laches claim. So it's one of those things that they said that Adidas, remember, Justin? So the case just came out in January, right? The final verdict.
Right.
The issue began like 2005.
Right.
So Tom Brown's attorneys argued in their litany of defenses. The one out of they have 14 defenses. The one that stuck out of them was laches, which is basically saying that Adidas took an excessively long time to unexcusable delay into bringing the case, right? And I think it's a presumption that if you don't bring a claim within 6 years, that the laches defense is presumed. So I think that's the argument that won the day, is the laches. But I haven't pulled the jury verdict and things like that. But I think the laches is the piece that got it to the jury.
Sorry, so we'd have to bump heads a little bit on that piece. And that might be true, but I think if I'm the attorney, there's no similarities. You trade 3 stripes. I got 4, right? When I originally started, Tom Brown did start with 3, and I think they sent a cease and desist, and he said, you're right. It does, there are 3. My mark is 3 stripes in a particular pattern, not 4. right? And I think I was just briefly reading some of what the jury decided in and of itself. They also said that there are one's a luxury brand and one's a sport brand, right? So what I just read said, I don't think there's any confusion about a $725 pair of workout gear. I think you would know that that's not Adidas. That's Tom,
Right.
unless Adidas is partnering with a Gucci or
Right.
Mont Blanc, something like that. But I don't think there's any confusion, and I don't think 4 stripes and a pair of $725 workout tights in comparison to a 3-stripe and a $100 tracksuit cause confusion in the marketplace, right? And I think that's where just basically just reading that quick, and I haven't looked at the complaint, read the defenses or anything.
Right.
But I agree that in 2005 he was using 3, and then Adidas said, "Wait a minute, that's ours," and he said, "You know what? You're right." So I'm gonna add one more stripe. But even looking at what Justin has on the screen, I think if you even took the Adidas insignia off that sock, right? I don't think you can say, well, you know what? I think there's similarities there, right? I mean, I don't think I would confuse that sock on the left with an Adidas sock.
Right.
So I feel your point, Shannon. But I would think an examiner would issue an office action based on this picture.
Okay.
Now you're so Shannon, your arguments might win,
right,
and you might refute that office action, and the mark could
right,
still get placed. But I still think they're at least close enough.
Right. So I think the question becomes, did that happen?
No, I get it. I understand. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
What I'm saying is, could a USPTO search be done right now to see if Tom Brown has a mark or a trademark on that 4-stripe design?
Sure.
I think if he did, an examiner thought that they weren't close enough.
Right.
Right. But again, I think just looking at now, Kobe, yes, I'll give you that. But I mean, even when I just go to the website, like I say again, a pair of a gray sweatsuit for Tom Brown is $1,100. There's no way I would think an Adidas tracksuit costs $1,100. So I don't think that causes confusion. Now, if he put that out there and it was $125 like the Adidas, it had the 4 stripes were kind of in that same pattern. Okay, we might be able to get into it, but I would never pay $1,100 for an Adidas tracksuit.
But Shannon, but let me ask you this though, right? What are you assuming is the mark? Are you assuming the 3 stripes in the logo is the mark?
No, Adidas is 3 stripes.
Just the 3 stripes. So if that logo wasn't there,
that's what I say. Even if we take
check me. All right. So if that logo wasn't there, Shannon, right? And you were looking at the black line, that's 3 stripes.
And then, so if we're going to play in that negative space, then if we're going to play in that negative space, I would say, well, on the Adidas sock, if we're playing in negative spaces too, that's not the mark though. The mark is the 3 defined stripes, right?
And I still think that a uneducated consumer, right? Because we're not relying on the educated consumer.
Correct.
We're educating. Right. I think Justin has. In our discussions of mark, Justin's always like, it's got to be like, this is not.
So, and this is why I say that though. Educated consumer, when they go to buy that sock that looks like that on the left, and that sock is a $250, $300 sock, there's no way they're going to say, you know what, this is a.
Unless
I don't think you say that.
Art collection, I don't know.
Right, exactly. Uneducated.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Shanon Buari wouldn't think that's
a pack of Adidas socks cost $16. There's no way. There's no way I'm educated, and I know.
How do I know? But how do I know it's not a Yeezy rollout?
Exactly.
If that contract was still in existence,
exactly.
Right? How do I not know Yeezy's behind it? And that's why it's $200.
Right. So again, I think there would be some signifier there, right? I think it would say. I think it would say if I'm online shopping right now for a pair of socks.
Okay.
Right, Justin, can you pull up a pair of Tom Brown socks?
Yeah, the one on the left. Oh, you're talking about this in general.
Just Google Tom Brown socks.
Okay.
So if I Google striped socks, right, just striped socks, I would, being uneducated, I'm not looking for negative space, positive space. I'm not looking for signs and insignia. I know Adidas. I might not even know who Tom Brown is. I know for a fact there's no way, unless, again, it's a Dapper Dan collab, Yeezy collab.
That's Gucci. The thing. I'll Google striped socks, buddy. It doesn't go straight to Adidas, thankfully.
Which it doesn't, right? Which is perfect, right? Bombas got a pair of 2-stripe boys, right? I'm looking at them now. Bombas has a pair of 2-stripe socks.
Now, for the record, at this point, I'm arguing with Shannon just because he picked the side. But
I get it. So again, like if I Google Tom Brown, there's no way I look at some of this stuff and say this is Adidas.
Okay, can you guys see it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at this.
There's no way I would look at this sock and assume that's an Adidas sock. There's no way.
I understand that point, but I think with all the new capsules that they're doing and the Travis Scott and this spinoff and that spinoff, I don't. How do I not know that? I could easily assume it's just a spinoff, right? They're doing something with an artist. I don't know. Maybe how do I not know this is not Tom Brown and Adidas, right?
So again, I think because I'm looking for 3 stripes. Adidas is 3 stripes. That's their trademark. You just read the most important piece of the opinion. Their 3-stripe brand is what their trademark is. We're looking at 4 stripes. This can't be Adidas. 5 stripes is K-Swiss, right?
But I don't think the standard is an exact match.
Sure,
the standard is
in the market.
Could it be reasonably construed as confusion
in the
marketplace?
Right.
And there's no confusion here when I get a pair of 4.
However,
and I pay 170.
But Adidas has been successful in saying that Skechers has been confusingly similar, and other brands before that have used stripes off. Like I'm assuming I don't know those cases, but I'm assuming that they didn't use 3 stripes, but they may have used 3 stripes.
Justin, Tom Brown sweatsuit. Go to like one of these Tom Brown sweatpants right there where it says Tom Brown sweatpants. Just click that.
Okay.
Again, go to all, Justin, not images. Go to all real quick.
Okay.
There's no way you're going to tell me that a pair of Adidas sweatpants costs $1,900, and you're an uneducated person. If I'm looking for my son a pair of Adidas track pants, and these pop up, there's no way I'm saying these are Adidas, bro. $1,000 for some bottoms? Nah. And I think that's where the jury was. The jury said there's no confusion. Right now, if they were in same and similar marketplaces, right? If that jacket wasn't $3,000, but it was $125, I think they would have gotten off. I think they would have said, you know what? There's too much confusion in the marketplace for a person to look at this 4-stripe versus a 3-stripe and think infringement. I don't think there's confusion. An Adidas tracksuit is not, a pair of Adidas joggers is not $700. I think, and that's just me. I mean, if the
what about inflation though?
Say it again. Even with inflation, bro, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. I mean, $150, $200 tops. I think if the standard is confusion in the marketplace, this does not cause confusion. And I think and here's why, right? I think so. If I'm making the argument, one, I don't think the people that shop for Tom Brown shop for Adidas. So there's not confusion. I know what I'm looking for, right? 2, I don't think the people that shop for Adidas are probably looking for Tom Brown. And even if I am uneducated, I kind of have an idea of what Adidas should cost, right? And I'm gonna put it this way: I may not know what Adidas costs, but I know what it should not cost. And an Adidas tracksuit, I don't think should cost $1,800. So then I'm gonna go, okay, maybe I spelled something wrong because I typed striped tracksuit and a $3,000 tracksuit popped up. Let me type Adidas tracksuit now at this point. Okay, better. This is it, right? So again, I think if I'm looking at these two, I can see how. Now I see why Adidas will make the claim, sure, and I think it probably has something to do with the fact that he went 3 stripes. They told him to stop. He did, and then came back and did 4, and they were like, "Hey, you still can't do that," and he was probably like, "Watch." But I don't think something like this causes confusion. Right. Now, if there was a YSL versus Christian Louboutin case, where YSL tried to do the red bottom on a shoe, and Christian Louboutin sued for copyright infringement and won, not copyright, trademark infringement and won. Right? And I think what they said there was that you could cause confusion because I'm putting a red bottom on the bottom of a shoe. You can go pink, you can go purple, you can go silver. You can't go red though, because now if I just look at the shoe's bottom, I can't tell which one belongs to Louboutin, and I can't tell which one belongs to Yves Saint Laurent. I think that causes confusion. But if we're talking 4 stripes versus 3, I think if the trademark is 3 stripes and 4, I don't know if that causes confusion.
Right.
But that's just me.
Right. Yeah, I for me, I'm 50-50 on this. Whoever hires me first, that's what I'm gonna argue for. In this case, if I'm the jury, the best lawyer, because I think that it can go either way, honestly. I think Shannon made some good arguments saying that it's a different audience, it's more expensive, it's 4 stripes and 3 stripes. But I think Jacobie made a great argument as well. I mean, I think that an uneducated buyer could think that these are Adidas. I didn't even really know about Tom Brown like that. And, if I had saw 3 stripes or 4 stripes, I would probably assume, if I didn't know Tom Brown at all and never seen anybody wear it, I would probably assume it's Adidas. Okay, because Adidas, is a 3 stripe rule. They are that's their world. So, but can you own stripes, right? And I think that's
the major key, Justin. There's a 3 stripe rule.
I know. But a 4, I don't know. It looks very similar.
Adidas has 3 stripes. How come you don't confuse a pair of K-Swiss with a pair of Adidas?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
K-Swiss has 5 stripes, right?
Right.
There's no confusion there.
Right.
Because I think 5 is a little further down the
middle. Exactly. A little further down the line.
I love it.
Yeah. But yeah,
it was the professor Day that taught trademarks at Valpo. Let's get his opinion, man. Tchaikovsky. We need to get his opinion on this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna bring some professors on next time. But
I'm just saying, a good is a good. Don't say luxury good. Just say a good. That's all I'm saying. And I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Well, for those watching it or who watch it later, put in the comments. Let us know what you thought. What do you think? We love to hear your thoughts on it. And yeah, we always love to take in different legal topics. So feel free to put that. But just as we wrap up, what do you think is some big lessons that small business owners can learn from this situation? So we'll start with you, Attorney Buari.
I think again, as we've alluded to for a while now, is just to have your attorney review all of your documents, but the importance of protection, right? Now, Justin, and COVID does as well as I know that just because I don't have a trademark doesn't mean I can't win per se. I'm in an infringement case, right? First to marketplace, who's in the market first, right? I mean, there's other avenue that you can explore to potentially, secure, your trademark. But what having a trademark filed with the USPTO does is it just provides notice, right? So it just lets somebody know I'm out here doing this. This is how I'm doing it. This is why I'm doing it. And there's a probability that if you try to do it in the same space and use something like this, you can get in trouble. And I just had another. There was I believe, a case for Louis Vuitton sued a dog toy manufacturer for infringement, and the dog toys. The dog company were creating chew toys that were very similar to the damier print of the Louis Vuitton bag. And Louis Vuitton sued, and court sided with the dog company because they said there's 2 different spaces, right? People ought to know that you're not going to buy a Louis Vuitton toy to chew for the dog, So that just kind of luxury versus. So in my head again, I'm thinking 4 stripes, Tom Brown, we getting off, baby. Come sing. Right. If Tom Brown, you listening? You got a good guy right now, but if you need another one, I got you. But I think this does signify the importance of having your marks, trademark, your works copyrighted, right? Your patents, filing the proper paperwork. In the event you have patents and protecting those trade secrets. right? Because at the end of the day, I would imagine the argument being made by Adidas was he's costing us money, right? At the end of the day, it's about the bottom line. So having that proper protection in place is paramount.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Attorney Buari. Attorney Whitley.
Same, yeah. I second everything Shannon said. I will also extend, hey, you not for profits out there, this applies to you too. So I would throw that out there. Sometimes, not for profits, 501(c)s not like to not consider themselves businesses. However, owning your intellectual property and your brand and everything, it still matters, and you should still own that intellectual property. So none of this, even the compliance best practices, reviewing contracts, all of that still applies to not-for-profits as well.
Right. Absolutely. I think my wrap up would be that, Goliath can still fall, right? Adidas is a huge conglomerate company. And I mean, so is Tom Brown, but Adidas has, been out there way longer. It's a big company, and Adidas lost. Their trademark. So just because someone's a bigger company, a bigger corporation, doesn't mean that they can just automatically win. That's why it's so important to do your work, do what you need to do ahead of time, as example of getting your business name, your logos trademarked, and you can have protection. And you can defend it against the biggest of guys, right? And so make sure that you have that protection. I think that's one very, very key thing to take into consideration for small business owners. Another thing is that a lot of this stuff is debatable. That's why it's so important to get your stuff trademarked as soon as you can. Don't wait. Because just like Attorney Buari said, yes, it's technically the rule is first to the marketplace, but there are a lot of, hoops, so to speak, you got to go through when you don't register it, right? And now we're on the back end trying to prove, even though I didn't register it, I still was using it out there. And it puts a lot more of a burden on your lawyer to prove that you actually had it before the other person who registered it. And the other third thing, and I want to keep this in mind, trademarking is just it's not exact, right? It could be similar, right? When you get a trademark, you're not just protecting that exact mark, you're protecting anything that's out there that's similar, that has the same commercial impression, right? Which is a debatable term, because what does that really mean? But what that means, you should know is that when you get that trademark in, you actually can protect other people from doing anything similar in your particular product or service. So it's really important that you do get your trademark, or what's already out there, so that you're not infringing on someone else's trademark. So I hope today's podcast was helpful for you. We talked about a lot today. We dropped a lot of gems. This podcast, if you're listening, it's probably going to save you a lot of money to some of the things that we talked about. We talked about, just some general tips that you should take in for the beginning of the year. And we discussed the lawsuit between Adidas and Tom Brown. So hopefully that was helpful for you. That's all I have for today. We're going to try to come back possibly sometime this month, possibly not, but we'll see what our schedules say. And we're going to try to continue to bring out valuable content for small business owners by dropping great legal tips to help them protect and grow their business. But anybody else, Attorney Buari, Attorney Whitley, any final comments before we wrap this thing up?
Happy New Year, guys.
I'm on the USPTO website, and I ain't seeing the 3 stripes. I'm just seeing the name Adidas.
Okay. Attorney Buari's not going to let this go.
Might have to do a design. Shannon's trying to market and sell it to him. I already know.
Like you said, Happy New Year. Make sure you consult with the attorney on the front end, not the back end. Stay proactive in business, life, instead of being reactive. But yeah, there's going to have to be a part 2 for this go.
Where Chief at when you need him? I need a long, detailed explanation about this. I ain't give you for these different states. I need one of those.
Give you some time to do some research.
Where Chief at? I need somebody to take 5 minutes so I can look up some stuff. That's what I need. I need Mayambo's long-winded explanation.
Right.
I can do a quick Google search real quick. Let me see what's actually trademarked. Let me look.
Yeah, Attorney Mbanza was definitely missed today, but we'll definitely have her back again. Yeah, but thanks so much for everybody listening in. Great podcast today, and we will be back soon with Small Business Saturday podcast. Stay legal. Talk to you guys soon.